It is Fortress time. Ben waits out his clock before sending in Fortress. The opponent going to fire off a move, and they really need to pivot or they're going to get farmed down. The opponent fires off a liquidation. Fortress holds strong, and they are completely core broken. Welcome back to the channel. Recently, we've been doing a lot of anti-meta stuff here on the channel. Today, we are featuring a very unique Pokemon that I doubt many people have access to other than my good friend Ben. Shout out to Ben, he was actually my first ever member here on YouTube, and as always, I am very appreciative for the support. You can see it's ranked very low. However, when you're going to run something anti-meta, you don't need to be everything. What you do need to be is what you're going to see. If we look back to one of my recent videos, I was using Milotic in the Great League. That thing was ranked like 336 or something ridiculous, which would suggest it is a complete potato. However, if you looked at his key wins, it was able to beat Mandibuzz, Clodsire, as well as Gator, which is PvPoke's top 3, and that essentially is all it needs to do. Because despite its low ranking, you're almost guaranteed to find a positive matchup in every single battle. If we look at Forretress, it kind of has the same deal going on. It's able to beat them common water types, stuff like Tentacruel, stuff like Gator, even Jellicent and Tapu Fini that are less common but still running around. Forretress actually holds the role as a pretty good generalist as well, and that is due to its defensive typing. Bug and Steel only has one single weakness to fire, much like Dark Poison, which is only weak to ground, hence I love them so much. Although speaking of Dark Poisons, Forretress are very advantageous into all the Dark Poisons and poisons in general due to that Hail Mary Earthquake coverage. Its defensive typing serves it really well as well. It's able to fully wall stuff like Cresselia and Clefable. Cresselia less common, but Clefable here, there and everywhere. This intro has gone on for far too long, so without any further ado, let's see what Forretress can do in the Open Ultra League. And in Game 1, Ben leads Shadow Golurk into a Lowland Muck. A very nice lead for us, with shields to hide behind. However, Ben actually not willing to go down Protect Shields, instead banks his energy and catches the Dark Pulse onto Drapion. A very nice catch from Ben. Ben then attempts to throw the Crunch on the charge attack priority. The opponent actually stays in, taking the extra. Despite the fact we give the opponent a free snarl, the opponent going to be unable to one-shot us with any move. They fire off the Sludge Wave. Drapion withstands the damage, and it looks like the opponent has no answer to a Dark Poison on their team. The opponent even shields Muck at low health, giving us shield advantage. This is going to be a very easy no-shield from Ben. We haven't got a switch advantage, we've obtained shield advantage. Golurk already has energy, and if the opponent doesn't pivot, we're going to get even more. Ben sends in Golurk, Golurk gets the Mud Slap farm down, and out comes Swampert. Swampert should be advantageous into this matchup, but they're not going to appreciate our huge energy lead. The first Shadow Punch forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Golurk fires off the next Shadow Punch, getting Swampert below half health, and then we see the pivot into Forretress. Forretress going to shield up the Hydro Cannon. The opponent then pivots out into Clefable. Trainer, you should top left, or at least stay in, as this thing is completely walled. Ben fires off the Mirror Shot that doesn't do too much damage despite being super effective, but the opponent can quite literally throw whatever they like. Even if the opponent was on any funky moveset, they'd be completely walled. You can see the writing is already on the wall as the opponent concedes the match, and we're off to a 1-0 start. In the next battle, we see Charizard in the lead. This hurts my heart. RIP, buddy. Shadowzard was without a doubt my favourite pick in the Ultra League. That thing used to be a monster before the Wing Attack nerf. A few are still opting for Wing Attack, but its pacing just isn't it. Straight 5s to the Dragon Claw and 877 to the Blast Burn, which is far too slow for such a glassy Pokemon. This opponent is opting for Legacy Dragon Breath. Again, I don't think that's quite it. Its pacing's quite slow, and if you want a Dragon Breath user, just use something like Dragonite. You could opt for Buff Fire Spin, but again, I don't think that moveset's quite what you're looking for. The former Wing Attack version of Charizard was able to flip matchups against stuff like Swampert and Gator, and on Fire Spin, you aren't doing that. Ben forced both Protect Shields, looked to knock Charizard out of the sky with the Crunch, but the opponent made a very nice catch onto yet another nerf Pokemon in the form of Swampert. Swampert's pacing again has been heavily affected this season. Straight 5 to the Hydro Cannon rather than 5-4, and 9-8 to the Earthquake, which is absurd. Speaking of Earthquake, I think a big boom is incoming. The opponent sent up Magnezone, then tried to catch the Earthquake onto Charizard. Ben held his energy, caught the Dragon Claw back onto Forretress, Volt Switch farm down Zard, leaves with the Earthquake, and you know it's going to be high Magnezone, bye Magnezone. Forretress picks up that one-hit KO, and we emerge victorious. What is going on here? Are we just in a time warp or something? I'm trying not to get distracted, but people keep sending out Pokemon that have received nerfs this season. Although in fairness, I think Poliwrath isn't all that bad. We banked some energy, sent out Drapion, the opponent debuffed us, and then sent out Cresselia. They even shielded the first Crunch, which is a huge mistake. Not only was we debuffed, Crunch has a 30% chance to debuff your defense. You never want to shield the first move. Because if we got that debuff, of course, the next Crunch would do even more damage with a 1-stage lowered defense. Ben's Drapion holds strong, tanking the Moonblast, able to reach one further Crunch. And despite us being debuffed, Drapion doing what Drapion always does and putting in so much work. Ben could just send out Forretress here and use it to operate as a damage sponge. Cresselia, what you going to throw, buddy? Moonblast, that's not it. If you got Future Sight, guess what, that's resisted. And Grass Knot certainly isn't the play, as that is a double resisted move. As you can see, I think that Grass Knot actually healed us. Holy crap. Back out comes Poliwrath. Ben builds the Earthquake and baits for the Mirror Shot. I personally don't bait a lot, but I really do not agree with that bait whatsoever. And the reason for that is, the opponent knows we've got energy on Golurk, so they're inclined not to shield. You've either got to force the final shield or guarantee the big damage with the Earthquake. Ben fires off one further Mirror Shot. He's then going to bank some energy, snipe with Golurk. Out comes Alolan Mach. I think it's interesting to see there's a lot more Snarl variants in Mach now, especially with the Astonish buff. We forced the Protect Shield with the Dynamic Punch, which certainly is the correct play. As of course Earthquake would be picking up that one hit KO. Ben actually saying, Forretress, don't worry about it. Golurk will carry the team home here. We fire off the Dynamic Punch, picking up the knockout, and we emerge victorious. In the next battle, we see another Swampert. Please stop running these nerfed Pokemon so I can actually commentate and not get distracted. Ben invests an early Protect Shield, shielding up the Hydro Cannon. He's then going to return fire with the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch forces our Protect Shield back. We then see Ben bank a Shadow Punch and make a very nice catch onto Drapion. Of course, this isn't a great matchup for Drapion. We did manage to catch, and we are actually able to outpace now with a sneak, as Swampert's pacing is straight 5s. Crunch secures the knockout. The opponent then sends out Gliscopod, which is by no means a good matchup for the opponent. Well, it's not too bad, but their quick move of Shadow Claw is resisted. We fire off the Sludge Bomb that does hit harder. The opponent heavily over farms before firing off a charge move. Let's see what they're on. The opponent fires off the Aerial Ace, and this looks like a perfect opportunity for Forretress to come in and load up on energy. Forretress is actually really bulky. If the opponent's got Liquidation, you're going to see an example of that now. Liquidation, a pretty good move. Gliscopod, pretty attack weighted, but that just tickled, and the opponent is completely core broken. Out comes Jellicent, and this time Ben, recognising baiting would be a lose con, fires off the Earthquake, forcing the final Protect Shield, then go for the wham, bam, combo play, serving up the Big Mac, and the Fry. Shadow Punch isn't quite lethal. We can just tank this move, come in with Forretress, a Volt Switch, farm down everything, and we're going to emerge victorious. This is a safe shield, just shield up whatever they throw. One further Volt Switch will be removing Jellicent from the field of play. Oh, it's actually 2, but regardless, we leave with the Earthquake. They don't really need to throw it. Ben actually going to opt for the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot, despite being resisted, is going to be all she wrote. GG's. In the next battle, yikes, Ben throws one Mud Slap, safe switches into Drapion. The opponent continues to stay in, likely looking to chip and dip. That looks like a CMP tie. The opponent actually fires off the Ice Beam, which certainly isn't the play. Ice Beam costs 15 more energy than Hydro Cannon, and actually does less damage. I think the only reason you'd Ice Beam is that this isn't a Legacy Mon, and they've got Crunch as a second move. Well, that theory very quickly goes out the window. Of course, this is week 2 of the season, so I imagine this is a less experienced battler. So if you are newer to the game, in neutral situations with Gator, you always go Hydro Cannon. You'd only really throw the Ice Beam if it's super effective, on stuff like Grass types or Dragons. Once again, we see the nerfed variant of Zard. This is still running Legacy Wing Attack. The opponent actually shows great count in there, which surprised me after the misplay in the opening matchup, throwing the Dragon Claw on the charge attack priority. That's essentially how you want to run a Glassy Pokemon like Zard. You always farm up as much energy as you physically can, which the opponent did very nicely there. We send out Golurk. Ben calls a Dragon Claw bait. I'll be honest, I wasn't counting. I don't know if they had the energy for the Blast Burn, but regardless, Ben tanked the damage, forced the final Protect Shield with the Shadow Punch. At this stage, we're just going to put it all on Forretress. Dragonclaw isn't quite lethal. We see Ben pivot into Forretress. Out comes Togekiss, and this game is over. Forretress going to be on cleanup duty. Mirror Shot hits for super effective. Doesn't do all that much damage, but the Volt Switches will essentially put it into Mirror Shot range the second time. The second Mirror Shot does pick up the knockout. We're going to Volt Switch farm down Charizard and take that game. In the next battle, we see Dragonite in the lead. Not fantastic by any means. Ben utilises the Shadow Drapion save switch. The opponent fires off the Dragonclaw. Ben looks to fire off the harder in Sludge Bomb, and the opponent makes a savage catch onto Swampert, where it is going to be resisted. The first few weeks of the season are kind of crazy. One battle you'll see someone who's got no idea what they're doing, running like Jolteon, and the next battle you're going to see a really solid meta team with someone who's clearly played before. The opponent fires off the Hydro Cannon on the CMP tie. It looks like Ben might be going for aggressive Mud Slap farm down here. I don't think 3 further Mud Slaps are going to be lethal, so Ben is going to be forced to throw. As Ben's overfarmed, if Dragonite should return, we should be forcing our Protect Shield back. The opponent actually reluctant to send back out Dragonite, send out Venusaur, and this is perfect for us. Golurk essentially in the matchup it wants to be in. Our Mud Slaps are neutral, and these Shadow Punches are going to start adding up. The opponent pretty much forced to shield this. We get our shield back, and it is Forretress time. Venusaur's Frenzy Plant, one of the hardest hitting moves in the game, but it's double resisted. Have you ever seen Frenzy Plant do so little? Back out comes Dragonite, and it's instantly greeted with the Mirror Shot. The opponent reluctant to shield the first, but they're kind of forced to shield the second. The only win con for the opponent left at this stage is landing the Super Power. The opponent still doesn't shield Dragonite, and this is the easiest shield of Ben's GBL career. The opponent YOLO the Super Power. They recognise the game's over and concede the match. Uh-oh, that is a huge likes lead. I think Articuno might be quite a cool pick, actually. Something I might try out myself. We utilise the Shadow Drapion save switch, and out comes Swampert once again. The opponent not even looking to bait a potential Earthquake, so Ben can easily tank this move. And despite Mud Shots now doing more damage, Drapion's easily going to be able to reach the second crunch. This won't quite be lethal, but does force us shield advantage here in the mid game. The opponent able to get the full Mud Shot farm down. Ben doesn't really have a great way of soaking this energy. If we send out Golurk, the Mud Slaps hit for neutral, but the Hydro Cannon will be picking up that one hit KO. Ben might actually be forced to go down both Protect Shields here. We see Ben invest the final Protect Shield. We only get the Mud Slap farm down. Dynamic Punch or Shadow Punch will hit Articuno for neutral, but after getting off this damage, we really need to pivot. Once again, we're very hopeful that Forretress able to completely core break the opponent. We catch the Icy Wind, which is resisted, and sneak the Volt Switch, which isn't bad, but out comes Giratina. This doesn't look fantastic by any means. The opponent fires off the Dragonclaw, which isn't the play. If you've got Ancient Power or Shadow Sneak or even Shadow Force, that is the move to throw here. Ben YOLO's the Earthquake, but debuff, that does absolutely nothing. Switch timers are misaligned here though. So Ben is able to go for the wham bam combo play, fire off the Shadow Punch, and this might actually be winnable. Shadow Punch isn't quite lethal. If this is just a Dragonclaw, that Mud Slap will knock out, and then Forretress is going to need to reach back-to-back Mirror Shots. Out comes Articuno. Ben fires off the Mirror Shot immediately. So Articuno was only on one Eye Shard there. What he should have done is to and fro, and that would have actually allowed him to reach the double Mirror Shot and potentially win this battle. Sometimes fast move timing's king. Unfortunately, we're going to take a heartbreaking loss. In the next battle, we see Gardevoir in the lead. The opponent save switches into Gliscopod. Ben banks some energy and makes the catch and the sneak in the process, catching the resisted move onto Forretress. These Volt Switches are tearing through Gliscopod. Holy cow. Forretress once again showing its very respectable bulk. I think here again, I would have thrown the Earthquake. Both moves are resisted. Mirror Shot won't knock out, whereas the Earthquake would get the job done. It looks like Ben just happy to soft lose this mid game and look to get even more energy together. I'd personally opt for the Poison Sting farm down here. Ben actually sends out Golurk, the opponent sends back out Gardevoir, and Gardevoir is instantly going to be putting up that Protect Shield, shielding up the Shadow Punch, and we see the pivot into Drapion. Holy cow, look at the buff Poison Stings. My god, Poison Sting. I've never seen him do that much damage, but Shadow Gardevoir, insanely glassy. Ben gonna put up that Protect Shield, blocking up the triple axle. Fortunately, we're only one Poison Sting off the next crunch, finally removing this menace from the field of play. The opponent sends out Aurorus, getting a very nice Powder Snow farm down. Ben just needs to be mindful of the opponent making the catch. We need to ensure the Dynamic Punch lands on this Aurorus. So we need to be patient here. The opponent tries to make the catch unsuccessfully. We didn't even have the energy for the dynamic punch. So moral of the story is learn your counts. Dynamic punch easily picks up that one-hit KO and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Venusaur on the lead. We say switch into Drapion, and once again, we're met by Swampert. Ben, are you stuck in a time warp, buddy? Ben able to get the defense drop on the first go of it. Ben actually looking to try and flip this alignment. We shoot at the Hydro Cannon. We're going to return fire with the crunch. With a debuff, this crunch will be knocking out. The opponent invests that Protect Shield, looking to keep that super positive alignment. Again, great counting from the opponent, throwing the Hydro Cannon on the CMP tie. Hydro Cannon does secure the knockout, and we find ourselves in the 1-to-1 shield. I think I personally wouldn't have shielded the Drapion, as Hydro Cannon wouldn't have knocked us out and would have forced the shield there in the mid game regardless, and had a 2-to-1 shield advantage. Like this, we now find ourselves down a Protect Shield after removing Swampert from the field of play. We really need Forretress to be very good against whatever's in the back. We see Ben attempt to make a catch, but as the opponent threw the correct one Vine Whip and the charge move, we're stuck in the animation. Let's go Forretress. The opponent continuing to stay in, though this time throwing alignment, giving us a free Volt Switch. I think Ben just has to try and fully Volt Switch farm this down. The opponent sends out Sand Slash. There is no shot. Ben going for a very risky Mirror Shot bait. Mirror Shot forced the opponent's final Protect Shield. We're then able to reach the Earthquake. This doesn't get the same type attack bonus, but Earthquake almost picks up the one-hit KO. We're able to Volt Switch farm down Sand Slash. Back out comes Venusaur and Forretress on cleanup duty. My gosh, I thought that game was over, but Ben able to emerge victorious. In the next battle, we see Dragonite in the lead. Again, we're going to utilise the Shadow Drapion save switch. Please tell me this isn't going to be a Swampert counter swap. The opponent fire off the superpower, debuffing their defense, meaning this crunch will likely pull a shield. No surprises there. The opponent puts up that Protect Shield and then send out Empoleon. I'm being trolled at this point. Every single Nerf Pokemon is making an appearance today. The opponent invests a very strange shield there. I've got no idea why you'd shield that. It does around half, but you're already down one shield. Going down two shields this early is a recipe for disaster. We send out Golurk with a 2-to-0 shield advantage. Ben gonna shield up the incoming Hydro Cannon and look to remove this Steel Penguin from the field of play with the big dynamic punch coverage. Get that Penguin off my screen. Out comes Gator, and it is Forretress time. Forretress once again core breaking this opponent. I believe this is the Dragon Claw, right? Ben agrees. The opponent goes for the Dragon Claw, and that should be sealing their fate. Although in fairness, we really need to hope an Earthquake is enough to knock out Gator. The opponent pretty glassy. Gator not known for its bulk. Back out comes Gator. Ben forced to burn the final shield here. In fairness, even if this Earthquake doesn't do anywhere near as much as I'd like it to, as it has been nerfed in previous seasons, the combination of the Volt Switches and Mod Slaps should be enough to take us to victory. Ben pivots back out into Golurk, reaches the Shadow Punch. Golurk is a Feraligatr counter confirmed. You heard it here first, and Ben is going to end today's video picking up a big fat dub. Huge shout out to Ben for showcasing the core breaking power of Shadow Forretress here in the Open Ultra League. Ben was my very first channel member here on YouTube, and I'm ever grateful for your support. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to our battle submission form is down below, and as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.